to the PassPorter Moms podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 265 of the PassPorter Moms podcast, Disney and Beyond. I'm Jennifer Marks, PassPorter author and PassPorter mom.
And I'm Sarah Varney, PassPorter news editor and fellow PassPorter mom.
The PassPorter Moms podcast takes you to Disney every week. We offer tips and advice for all travelers, with or without kids, going to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, and destinations in the U.S. and abroad. So how are you doing this week?
You know what? We're back to complaining about the weather because, and we haven't been for a while.
You had a snow day, didn't you?
It has not stopped snowing here I don't know. I mean, it's actually not snowing right at the second, but I mean, this was the third Monday in a row that our school had
a snow day.
A snow day, yeah.
Oh,
and the third Tuesday in a row that there was either a delay or a cancellation.
We need spring to come. We really do.
Yes. Are you sure there's no room in the back of your car for me? Because
I'm so excited. I get to drive south and it's going to become spring before my eyes. I'm so excited about the drive.
Yes.
Right now, I think that's the thing I'm the most happiest about. So I guess I made the right decision to drive.
I'll say.
I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I leave on Saturday and I have my rental already. I had to get it early. Because of car problems, but I still have my rental early, so I can pack early, and I have a new suitcase, and I'm really excited.
Good. And we're going to be talking all about your preparations and why rental and all that sort of stuff on an upcoming podcast,
yes,
right?
Yep. And two podcasts from now, I think.
Yes.
So 2 weeks from now. Yes.
Yep.
Because we're going to be pre-recording since I won't be here. So yes.
That's right. But
yeah, I'm really
interested
excited
to hear about all that. Sort of why you made the decisions, and why driving, and why packing for a a land and sea, all that good stuff. I'm excited
to talk about it. I made something this week.
Craft corner. Here we go. What did you make?
I made a cover for my Magic Band. Now, I made covers before.
I saw on Facebook.
Right, I've made fabric ones before, which I still like, and I might just use. But I was experimenting with covering it with vinyl, like just not the whole thing, just like the part that's got like the. So because you can get this printable vinyl that you can just print in your inkjet, and it, you cut it out, and then you would stick it on, and it sticks to it. So I just. I don't know yet if I like it. I might just go back to my other one, but I thought it was a fun experiment.
It looks really cute. You did like a little Tinkerbell.
Yeah, because Tinkerbell's my favorite character. Yeah.
That's right. So now where do you get that?
So I bought the printable vinyl that I have at Joann's, and it's a Cricut brand. Cricut that
yes, the Cry-Cut and
Cry-Cut, that's right, the Cry-Cut for scrapbooking. Yes, so they have it there, but they have heavier duty, stickier stuff that you can order like at Amazon. So and it's pretty accessible, and it's kind of cool because in the past that wasn't something that you could just do at home. So I thought that was
right.
Really
and then
neat.
you had to, if you wanted cute,
you had to go to a sign store, and they would charge you like $100 to get print on vinyl and stuff. Yeah,
right. Or if you wanted, or I mean, Disney sells a million custom Magic Bands, but they're pricey. They're like $20, $95.
I'll probably buy one of those anyways. Yes, they are pricey, and of course they're their designs. So like this method lets me put like Alexander really wants a Minecraft themed Magic Band.
I love the sigh.
Yeah, I know. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine.
It has nothing to do with Disney, Alexander, but all right.
I know, exactly. Maybe I can convince him to do Lego, because Lego and Disney have more of a connection there.
More of a connection.
Yeah. And so, you can put your name on it. I thought that's what's cool about that side. So I will report back when I get home from my trip whether I like that version or the fabric version, or just none.
Right.
But I thought that was a fun little project, and it was super easy to do.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it was busy in pop culture this week.
The Grammys.
The Grammys, The Bachelor last night. Oh, Lord, The Bachelor last night. But yes, no, it was Grammys. And of course, I have to say, this year's Grammys, and I am a big music fan, but I zoned out. The Grammys were not that interesting to me this year.
Oh, really?
I just didn't find it particularly compelling. Some good fashion going on. Rihanna had on this big dress. She looked like a giant pink cupcake. It was
It sounds good.
It was not, and then on like
Oh, was
the
it
opposite
bad?
end of the scale, Madonna wore basically nothing. So
Yeah, I actually heard about that one.
yeah, there was a lot going on there. Ladies, and I got a couple tweets about when I talked about The Bachelor last time, so I just have to get this in here.
Okay.
Ladies, gentlemen, listeners, if you're not watching The Bachelor, you are missing out on some of the best train wreck TV I have seen, and I don't even know how long. There is so much going on. There are panic attacks, and there is crying, and there is scandal, and there is, oh my gosh, there is just so much going on. I literally last night, like even my husband has like, you know, he would sit on the sofa next to me, but he would usually like be on his iPad or he's doing something else. Like he's in the room, but he's not really watching. Right. Oh no, even last night he was like, "What did she just say? Rewind that." Like, what did she? He was completely paying attention. So anyway, lots of good stuff going on there.
I'm almost afraid to find an episode and watch it.
I mean, you could almost feel your brain cells dying off as you watch it. And yet, like, you know, this is a very busy time of year for you, for me, for a lot of people. We've all got, you know, with the snow days and the whatever, we're all like up to here with our children. And, you know, sometimes it's nice to just play couch potato for a couple of hours, you know? And it's hard. I mean, it's hard. You know, it's harmless fun.
It is. Absolutely.
It's harmless fun. But you can tweet me at PassPorterMomSV because I know Jennifer she doesn't watch it, she doesn't appreciate it, she doesn't get it, she's not going to know what I'm talking about.
Everybody.
So if you're listening and you know what I'm talking about, you can tweet me and we will discuss.
Well, cool. Okay. All right, so and then I wanted to let everybody know that, as I mentioned, I'm leaving on Saturday, and as I generally do always on my trips these days, I'll be sending photos and stuff back because I love to share when I'm traveling.
I saw you have new technology.
I do, yes. Do you want me to talk about that, or should I just say, okay, so yes, I got a fancy new camera, so I mean, I've been using my iPhone and iPad for a while, and it's cool because, you know, you take a photo and you can send it to Facebook right away, which is why I like it. But I have a camera, a 22 megapixel camera that will do that for me now. So I don't have to just use my iPhone or my iPad. So I have a Lumix Panasonic camera that will has Wi-Fi. So what I do is I use my phone to get to my photos and send them to Facebook or Instagram or whatever I want. Isn't that awesome?
That's really cool.
I know. I didn't even know it was an option until I went looking. I'm like, what? Wi-Fi? My camera can have Wi-Fi?
It's amazing.
I think it might have sold me on it. And it's really cool too, because I can actually even control my camera remotely. So it can be set up somewhere and I can just be sitting there in bed saying, okay, do this. That's funny. So hopefully you'll be seeing even better photos and video. It also takes 4K video, which is like super, super high res, beautiful video. It's amazing. It's like, you know, it's not like, you know, a movie, which is totally different frame rate, but it's so crisp. It's just blows me away. So
nice. So can we expect some fireworks video maybe?
Yep. Fireworks and
I want to see
the
new interactive queue at Peter Pan.
That is one of my. So I will plan to take video of the interactive queue.
Yay!
Yeah. So, yeah. If anyone ever has any requests for videos or photos or anything or just stuff, I'm always happy to check out things because I don't always know everything that needs to be checked out, despite all of my lists. And sometimes I need people to say, hey, what about this? I'm like, oh my goodness, did something change? So feel free to email me at jennifer@passporter.com or just at podcast@passporter.com. I'll get that too. So cool. So the Passporter Moms podcast is sponsored by our friends at All Ears Net. They have lots of news on their site, including the news about Be Our Guest taking lunch reservations starting on February 25th, which, you know, as we talked about, I think it was last week. Some of the things that we'll be talking about too, like Luigi's flying tires. So I'll just save that. They have a photo gallery which is kind of cool, of Animal Kingdom Lodge's Jumbo Studios. So that's very cool. And then news on the Trolley Car Cafe opening at Disney's Hollywood Studios. I cannot wait to go there.
That's the new Starbucks.
Yes, and a sneak peek of the Cinderella movie. And also, Deb went to Universal Orlando recently, which I saw on Twitter, and she has a whole blog post about her experiences at Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So that's a lot of really cool stuff. And so you can read all of that at allears.net and check out their videos at youtube.com/allearsnet. Okay, so I would like to hear the news from you.
All right. So this week in the PassPorter News, it's Top 10 week. You know I love a Top 10
I love
list.
Top 10s.
Yes. So Cheryl Pendry has her Top 10 things she loves about Disney's Magic Kingdom. And then Lisa Smith-Lester has another article for us with 10 things not to do on your next Disney vacation.
Awesome.
10 things that you do not need to worry about or you should not do. Mistakes that she has made, she's telling you don't need to make them. So
good.
Those are our articles. And then in news over at Animal Kingdom, the Tree of Life has grown new roots, literally.
Yeah.
The construction walls have come down around the base of the Tree of Life, and there are new carvings and new roots. The walkways have been expanded a little bit around Discovery Island, gives better traffic flow. So very cool. I can't wait to see what new animals they've carved into.
Yeah, I'm going to check those out. It's cool.
Very neat. I bet you can get some good pictures of those.
Yeah.
Over at Disney's California Adventure over on the West Coast, Luigi's Flying Tires, as Jennifer mentioned, is closing on February 16th. That's this coming Monday, I believe, and is going to be replaced in early 2016 with a brand new attraction, which is featuring a new type of ride system and ride vehicles. So that should be really interesting. I always love it when they introduce new technology.
Did you ever do Luigi's Flying Tires?
I did. I did it a couple times, and it's fun. It was, it was a little difficult to maneuver. You sort of have to lean certain ways, and it wasn't, no great loss in my particular opinion. It was fun. It was fine, but we'll see what they can do. I have to say, in Cars Land, really, to me, the only sort of fantastic ride was Radiator Springs Racers. The other two were just sort of, but Cars Land itself is amazing and beautiful. This can only be an improvement, so I'm glad. And then Disney has begun sort of rolling out testing of direct-to-room check-in, which I actually got to experience back in June, and we talked about on this podcast.
We did talk about it on the podcast, yeah.
So you will get to experience this as well, I suspect, if you have guests who have received their Magic Bands, made their payment in full, put a credit card on their My Disney Experience site.
I need to do that. I do have that.
Okay.
But I haven't done my online check-in yet. You
have to do your online
check-in.
So
I'm going to go do that actually after we finish the podcast.
Yes. So make sure that you choose a PIN and that you provide a method of communication, text or cell phone, something like that. If you do all of that, theoretically speaking, you should be greeted at the resort entrance by a cast member who will give you the option to proceed to traditional check-in at the desk or will escort you directly to your room and have all of your paperwork and everything with her. So I got to do this back in June, and it was very cool. We were off Disney's Magical Express in our room and back on a bus going to a park in literally less than 20 minutes.
That's amazing. That's cool.
It was really fantastic. So this could be very, very cool. But just don't forget, you have to have done everything ahead of time. So you have to completed your online check-in with credit card with blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So, should be very cool. And that's it. PassPorter News comes out every week on Thursday and includes news, tips, articles, all kinds of amazing things. We have the best contributors around. If you would like to be one of them, you can reach me at news@passporter.com. I'll be happy to send you our guidelines. And I'm definitely looking for tips. It's feast or famine, people. I've either got articles for days, and I'm struggling for tips, or I've got tips out the wazoo and I'm struggling for articles. So right now we're in the I've got articles to keep me going for a little while, which is fantastic, but now I'm struggling for tips. Both of those options, give you a chance to win something or to earn something. So please enter your tips on our website at www.passporter.com/desk.
Well, last week I asked you if you would compare the Disney Dream with the Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas, which you went on back to back.
I did.
Yes. And so I really want to know how you thought they compared.
So this was really an interesting opportunity for me because I had not been on Royal Caribbean since 1990 was the last time I was on Royal Caribbean. At the time, it was the Sovereign of the Seas, which I don't think Royal Caribbean even has anymore. At the time, it was the largest ship in the world. would not even be a drop in the bucket these days. Phyllis Diller was the headliner. Just give you a
really?
to reference. Rest in peace, Phyllis. Yes. And that was my first introduction to cruising, and I absolutely fell in love with cruising. But I never had an opportunity to go back on Royal Caribbean since. So this was my first chance, and I literally got off the Dream, killed a couple of hours with some friends, and then got on the Freedom of the Seas. So they're parked right next to each other.
Right, at Port Canaveral, yeah.
Yes, you can't actually walk between the terminals, I found out. I thought I might be able to do that.
It's probably not, there's not a lot of call for that, so.
Yes, not a lot of call for that. So there's no sidewalks, and there's lots of fencing and security and things like that. So,
how did you get over there then?
So I actually went, some friends of mine were at a nearby hotel, so I took a taxi over to them, hung out with them for a couple of hours.
I see, and then took the taxi back.
We drove back to the, Becky Minkin and I drove back to the port.
Right.
And so the very first thing that I noticed, and this is where I'm going to give a point to Royal Caribbean, was the boarding process.
Oh, yeah.
Disney's boarding process, as you may be aware, is sort of almost like a cattle call kind of thing. You get a boarding number, they call your boarding number, and you sort of swim your way through the crowds clustered around the door.
Yes.
It's right. It's
right. I know.
Chaotic.
It is. Everyone wants to be at the head of that line when their number is called, and so everyone's just sort of loitering in the area. I mean,
it's like there's just crowds of people like, you cannot get through. And
it is very crowded, especially on like the Dream and the Fantasy where there's more passengers. Yeah.
And it's always stunning to me because Disney is the master at crowd control.
I know.
But they can't get this one. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
So Royal Caribbean, you get to the desk and you're guided to a check-in desk based on which deck your stateroom is on. From there, you're then guided to rows of seats. You're given sort of a seat, and you hang out in your seat until it is your turn, and then they call you row by row by row. It is much more orderly.
So does their terminal have more seating? Because I don't even. A lot more seating, okay. Yeah,
like a little terminal instead of just being all that free spaces.
Right.
And in fact, Royal Caribbean has built a brand new terminal. Terminal 1 has been completely remodeled, and we'll get to that with disembarkation because we actually got on the ship at one terminal and got off the ship in the new terminal. So we experienced, check in at one and check out at the other. So sort of I'll get to the new terminal. It was very nice. But so boarding procedure, I'm going to give it to Royal Caribbean.
Cool.
Just much more
orderly.
Well,
I hope Disney's listening and we'll do this because this sounds a lot more organized.
It's just so much more organized. Now, were I traveling at that point with my son, I don't know. Maybe it would have been more difficult for him to not be able to sort of run around and explore things. And maybe that's why Disney does it that way.
Maybe.
So,
maybe they don't. Maybe people would object to the idea of all sitting together.
Right.
Where they're being told where to sit, and they won't like it. I don't know. I don't know how that was like.
I don't know how that works, but it did feel much more orderly to me, and I appreciated it. So then we got on board, and we got to our staterooms, and.
So what did you think of the staterooms?
Disney.
They didn't even call them staterooms, did they?
I don't know. What do they?
I think
cabins,
Disney.
Maybe.
Yeah, Disney's the only one that uses staterooms, which I think is a cool word. Sorry, go on.
Cabins, I guess you get your cabin. Disney wins all over the Royal Caribbean. Freedom of the Seas. We had been told to anticipate a full soft goods refurb, new rugs, new carpets, things like that. That did not happen. I'm not sure whether they ran out of time or money, but it did not happen. So nothing had been updated.
So how old is this ship?
I'm going to guess it's probably from the 80s based on
my goodness.
Based on the decor and the color palette and
the nice pastels going on there.
Yeah, a lot of pastel. Oh, yes, lots of peaches. Yes. My staterooms were very comfortable. I had a veranda on both. The Freedom of the Seas is definitely showing wear and tear even after the refurb. The staterooms, however, were larger than I was anticipating because you always hear, well, Disney's 25% larger, and they are. But I was very pleased with the size of my Royal Caribbean cabin. Now, I was the only person in it. That might have something to do with it. But in terms of, sort of apples to apples, the split bathroom in Disney is so much more convenient. The bathroom on a Royal Caribbean ship is teeny tiny, and it's got this tiny little round shower. And it's just, the ship is the stateroom's definitely were dated. They still need to update those. Now, again, this is very specific to Freedom of the Seas. Royal Caribbean has some amazing newer ships that have gorgeous staterooms. I just didn't happen to be on those ships.
Right.
So I don't mean to make this sound as a condemnation of Royal Caribbean in general, just this particular ship. So yeah, definitely going to give the edge to the rooms over on Disney Cruise Line. No question.
Okay.
But from there, we then had the opportunity to sort of really tour the ship and just sort of run it top to bottom. We saw lots of different stateroom categories, lots of different suites. Disney, as you know, Disney has a sort of a limited number of suites. There's not that many differences in them. Royal Caribbean has a wide range of different suite categories, which was really nice, and lots of different views as well. So on the center of most Royal Caribbean ships is the Royal Promenade.
Right, and it looks out into the interior of the ship, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So you can have a stateroom that is what on Disney Cruise Line would be an inside stateroom, but on Royal Caribbean is actually a promenade view stateroom. So you still have a view, which is kind of neat.
Right.
I found that really, really interesting. And then the promenade has all of your shops. So all of your shops and some of your specialty dining and things like that are all located right in the middle of the ship. It's a very... You do not feel like you're on a ship. You feel like you're in the middle of a shopping mall.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of a bizarre feeling, but it's actually very cool.
Yeah.
I
remember that because I have been on a Royal Caribbean ship and it had. I think that most of their ships have this. This is like one of their signatures, right?
Their signature thing.
Yes.
But the one thing that we really, really, really enjoyed, and this is new since their refurbishment, is the Cupcake Cupboard. So this is a cupcakes, and you know how I feel about cupcakes. I'm not normally, Disney I think is overdoing the cupcake thing, but this was very cool. They had, I think it was 8 or 9 different flavors that you could choose from that were available for purchase. This is for purchase.
Right.
Royal Caribbean definitely is more upcharge items. But you could do a cupcake decorating class, which was tons of fun. Again, additional charge. I think it was $22 per person or something like that. But it was a really fun class where, the lovely, I think her name was Noelle, walked us through this super cute little puppy cupcake. And it was a great group activity. It would be fun family activity. And that was really, really neat. And the cupcakes were delicious. Really good. In addition to the Cupcake Cupboard, there's a new Starbucks on board. There is a Ben & Jerry's. So if you need your premium ice cream fix, you can get that as well. Those are all additional items, okay? For counter service, they had Sorrento's Pizza, which was really good. I did not actually try their pizza, but they have sort of a charcuterie almost section where there was like pate and goat cheese and Italian cold cuts and things that you could pick from. That was really, really good as well. So...
Cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I liked the variety of the counter service better on Royal Caribbean than on Disney Cruise Line, I will say.
Okay.
So points to that.
Okay.
The main dining room, this was a 2-night cruise, and so it was not your typical cruise. I didn't really get to experience sort of what it would be like necessarily if you were on a 7-night cruise. Disney Cruise Line has rotational dining. So in case you're not familiar with that, if you're listening, you eat in a different assigned restaurant each night, and your server team travels with you.
It's not like that on Royal Caribbean, right?
Not like that on Royal Caribbean, right?
You're in the same dining room every night, right?
Yes,
That's what I was,
yes.
so.
There's typically 1 or 2 main dining rooms. The menu changes, but you're in the same dining room. You're not even necessarily at the same table every night, and you definitely don't have the same servers unless you specifically request them. The time of the dining, Royal Caribbean is actually testing something right now called dynamic dining. There's also My Time dining where you make reservations each day for dinner. When you want to eat, you can change them as well, which is kind of neat. So it's not just like main and late dining like Disney Cruise Line has. I actually liked that idea. I liked the idea of the more flexibility in terms of your dining times. The service is no comparison at all. Disney wins hands down.
I'm not surprised.
Hands down.
Disney service is amazing.
Yeah,
really.
Hands down. However, I actually had a much easier time finding food I could eat on Royal Caribbean. Now, whether that was because they simply were not as concerned about my food allergies as they were on Disney Cruise Line, and so allowed me for more flexibility, or I'm not sure what that was, but I had a much easier time.
So in other words, you were able to order things at main, at dinner?
Yeah, they seemed, even though I had noted my food allergy on my reservation, and again, this was a preview cruise. This is not, an official cruise, so I don't know if it would have been different had this been an actual cruise, although I get the sense that it wouldn't have been. I did mention my allergy to my server, and he just sort of nodded at me and then wandered off. And he didn't really,
okay.
There was no further discussion.
That instills confidence.
Yeah, he looked at me sort of sympathetically, and then that was it. No, not a high level of confidence. But at the buffet, I was able to, I was able to ask the chefs, does this have wine in? Does this have wine? And they were able to steer me. The buffet was very good. The food, again, I'm going to give the nod on the food to Royal Caribbean, actually. The service of the food, Disney hands down. The actual food itself, I'm going to give it to Royal, I got to say.
Okay.
Yeah. And then sort of the last thing, and they do have more specialty dining. So whereas the Dream and the Fantasy have Palo and Remy.
Right. There's a bunch of other ones. I remember that.
The Freedom has Chops Grill, which is a steakhouse, Giovanni's Table, which is an Italian sort of restaurant, and then Sabor, which is Mexican. Sabor is brand new on the Freedom. And those all, we got to taste sort of little items from each, and they were delicious. The food was, if it's anything like the little nibbles that they gave us, the food is fantastic. And we did have some agents who were able to eat at Chops, actually. They loved it. They raved about it. I was dying to get into Sabor, but it was, we didn't have enough time. So so that was really nice as well. Room service is included on Royal Caribbean, except during the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. when there is a service charge.
Okay.
So that's different as well.
Okay.
But it's
how much is the service charge?
$3.95.
Okay. Yeah, one thing I noticed on my trip is that there are a lot of things that I was on Voyager of the Seas. So a lot of the things that I just took for granted on Disney that were included were not included on Royal Caribbean. Did you have the same experience? Or
soda? Not included.
Yeah. That's a big one for some people. You drink a lot of soda.
Yeah. Or anything,
Right.
If you just want water.
Was that even true at dinner?
Again, this was a slightly different. So
that's true.
We had, everything was free.
Right. So you don't know if you would have been charged. As I recall, when I was on this was actually a long time ago. So like 9 years ago, I was charged. But that stuff changes. So
I believe soda is included
at dinner. I believe that's how it used to be on Disney a long time ago, before we got the soda fountains and stuff.
Yeah. Once upon a time.
Yes.
And then the last sort of major differences are in the entertainment on board. Disney Cruise Line has amazing stage shows every night, but it is a little bit all of the same thing.
Right. So it's pretty much always a stage show or something like that,
Yeah. It's most nights it's a stage show that includes scenes and characters from existing Disney movies.
Right.
No new content.
Right.
And they're great and they're fantastic and the performers are amazing. Royal Caribbean definitely offers a little more in terms of diversity. There's a ice rink on board the ship. And if you thought staying upright on an ice rink was difficult when it wasn't moving, try to imagine when the ship is really hauling behind through the Bahamas. So that was very impressive. Are these Olympic quality skaters? No, they're not. But they're darling and they're very good and they do some really cool things. So the skating show, which was at the time freedom.com, don't look for a story. You'll hurt yourself. Just enjoy, the attractive young people on ice. The stage show, I did not get to see, unfortunately, because I was rebooking myself for a canceled flight. But the stage show got rave reviews, actually. It was a modern retelling of some fairy tales using contemporary music. And I had one of our fellow agents who described it as the best thing she's ever seen at sea.
Wow. Well, that's high praise.
Cruise lines and all the Disney. Yeah. Right. So high praise for that. And then the other night was a stand-up comedian, and he was hilarious. So really, really nice. And then, of course, there's the rock climbing wall. There's the flow rider, surf rider. There, lots of really active things that you can do on a Royal Caribbean ship. So
I just want to note real quick, when I saw the stage show on my cruise with Royal Caribbean, it was very Vegas style. In fact, to the point where, not having actually seen one and only, maybe seen them, clips of them in movies or whatever, being ever so slightly at the time shocked to see what was almost just barely a bare-breasted woman. I just thought I would just throw that out there because
okay.
Not everyone is expecting that. And
Yes.
and there were kids there, and we're being like, wow, okay, let's just do this. Just put it out there. Just, if anyone's going on a cruise, I just might want to just...
I don't think there's anything like that on our
issue.
cruise, but I don't know about some of the shows. Now, a lot of Royal Caribbean shows have actual Broadway shows on them. I think Chicago is,
Cool.
there's like some shows. So different ships have very different experiences, and that's one of the biggest differences.
Yeah, your stage show doesn't sound anything like the one that does.
No.
This is like Vegas showgirl sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And so that is one of the major differences between a line like Royal Caribbean, who has tons of ships, small ships, middle ships, huge ships, the Oasis of the Seas, there's a lot of diversity and a lot of choices for someone. Disney only has 4 ships. Right. And there's not, there's a big difference between the Magic and the Wonder and the Dream and the Fantasy, but between the two, they're virtually identical to large degree. So not a lot of diversity in the offerings.
Did your ship have a casino on it?
All the ships, all Royal
Caribbean ships have casinos on them. Was it
smoky? Yes.
Was it prominent, or was it just a place you could go to?
No, it's smack in the middle of the ship.
Right.
Yeah. It's smack in the middle of the ship.
They always do, isn't it?
Yeah, there are times where you sort of have to go through.
You have to go. You
don't have to go through it to get places. You can certainly go around it, and if you can, I would recommend it because they do allow smoking. And even though they've supposedly improved the filters, you definitely could still absolutely smell the cigarette smoke. Yeah. I'm not a gambler. I'm a low risk kind of girl. So
yeah, me too. So
yeah.
Alexander was just asking me about that. He's like, I thought Disney ships had casinos. Oh, no, they don't, Alexander. How could you think that? Who are you?
Whose child are you?
I know. He's thinking of bingo. He's thinking it because I was telling bingo is gambling, and so in his mind, they're the same thing.
Same thing. Gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, sorry. Go on.
No, that's okay, and that's pretty much it. So both lines.
It sounds like pros and cons.
Pros and cons to both lines, and it really depends on your experience. And again, with Royal Caribbean, the experience is ship specific. So do I think that the Freedom of the Seas is sort of an alternative to Dream? Like maybe the Dream is a little bit out of your budget and the Freedom is a good... No, I don't think they're comparable experiences. I think if you've been on the Dream and then you were to get on the Fantasy, that you are going to experience a little bit of sort of wah-wah, especially if you have kids with you.
Yeah.
If it's 2 adults, this is an entirely different conversation, but we're really talking to,
we're talking to families
travel with
mostly.
Kids. We're talking about family travel. So.
All right.
But it was a fantastic experience, and I'm glad I got to do it. And it did make me really enthusiastic to see other Royal Caribbean ships. It really got me excited about, okay, so I understand that this is one of the older ships, it's one of the smaller ships, and it's just gotten a little bit of a refresh and not an entire refurb. Gosh, I wonder what the Oasis would be like, or gosh, I wonder what,
Right.
So...
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences. Honestly, too.
It's a rough job, but someone's got to.
All right. Well, this week in Community Corner, we have 2 listeners celebrating. Member JMI Ruzi says, my husband and I are headed to Florida on February 14th for an escape to the 16.5 inches of snow we just got on Super Bowl Sunday. We will be at Walt Disney World the latter part of our trip, and we will celebrate my birthday. We have plans to go on Keys to the Kingdom tour, and we're looking forward to seeing a glimpse of the Utilidors. Thank you for the weekly dose of magic.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Awesome. And then member ELMB 1972 says, my husband and I will be celebrating our 24th wedding anniversary on February 15th. Our marriage has been filled with trials, but our struggles have made our relationship stronger. I am thankful that we never gave up on each other.
Aw, happy anniversary.
That's awesome.
24 years. Wow.
I know. It's amazing. It's really
amazing.
Congratulations. And this week's podcast listener winner is Figment Rules. So if you're listing Figment Rules, send an email to podcast@passporter.com to claim your gift certificate. And I think that we have reached the end of our podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. So remember that our discount code to save 25% off the list price of Passporters is just the word podcast. It's all lowercase, and you type it at checkout at passporterstore.com. And don't forget that you can follow me on my trip on Facebook. You know what a good place to follow me would be on the the new PassPorter Moms podcast Facebook page. And last time there were some questions about how to find that. So the way you find it is to go to, actually, I'm going to bring it up right now and there's like a URL that will take you right to it. Okay, so you go to facebook.com/groups/PassPorterMoms, and that will take you right to our page, and you can join, and then you can hang out. And I am totally loving everyone posting photos and stuff, and everyone answering it.
I know. I can't believe how many members we got in like what, a week.
I know. It's super
over 200
active.
Members already. And
I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really happy that you guys are there and asking questions and sharing cool stuff, and it's very cool. So I will post not all of my stuff, but some of my stuff there, and then you can find more later. Like on Instagram or whatever. And I think that's it. Thank you for listening as always. Join us next week for our special guest. We're going to have AJ Wolf on, and listen to more podcasts at passporter.com/podcast. And thank you so much to our sponsor, All Ears Net. You can support the PassPorter Moms podcast by also supporting them. Talk to you next week.